Good morning, you guys. Okay, so today's going to be a little bit of a longer live, but it's going to be really great. We are going to make some mortar pumpkins, okay? All right, so this one is my one that is pretty much what we're going to be doing today, all right? And, this one isn't completely dry, so it will dry just a little bit wider, so this is what we're going to make today. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit longer, but it is going to be adorable, okay? That's what we're making. If you're having trouble seeing, then you can go ahead and swipe the comments to the right. I'm gonna set this down here just so people can kind of see where we're going. Maybe you can see it. I don't know. All right. So there is quite a few things that we're gonna need for our live today. First off, we're gonna need 2 hair elastics available. All right, and just got these from the dollar store. And these ones are the ones with the material on them. You know, like they're colored. They have the, you know, kind of like a fabric-y type thing. And I kind of like that better for being able to move on the things. So we just need that available, okay? So I have a table right here where I'm keeping a lot of my stuff. And the second one is actually for my hair because we definitely do not want to get any mortar in our hair, all right? All right, so the next thing, sorry, I made a list. I'm going to quickly pull that up so then I can have it available to make sure I don't miss things and I get things in the right order. All right, and then we need wax paper, okay? So we need wax paper for the spot where we're gonna let our pumpkin actually rest and dry. Okay, so what I did is I took the wax paper and I just put it on top of cardboard, okay? So I'm just gonna set it off to the side so you won't be able to see it, but you do want that already ready for when you're done, okay? So I'm just setting it off to the side and that's where I'm gonna let my pumpkin dry is on cardboard off to the side. All right, then the second piece of wax paper, what I did is I grabbed a grocery bag, which you can see here. If you're having trouble seeing, remember to swipe the comments to the right. All right, so I'm gonna get my second piece and I'm just gonna put it right on top. It almost makes like a little bit of a nest there, right? And so that's gonna be to catch any of the dripping that will be happening. Like it will leak a bit. So that's why I kind of like having the plastic bag underneath. It kind of gives it a little bit of a bowl to be able to, you know, it has somewhere to go. All right, the next we are gonna cut our strings. And so I just got this string from the dollar store, the cotton twine. All right, and we're gonna cut 4 pieces about 2 feet long. Okay, just gonna cut that off. And I have mine already lined up hanging on the chair, so that's number 4. I think that one is actually a little short. Let's go ahead and make that one a little longer. Because you don't want it to be too short. It's always better to have a little bit extra for this than a little too little because then it will unravel and that will not be good. All right, so I'm just gonna set that up so you want that ready before. All right, and then I think, yeah, we can do that. All right, and then we're gonna lay out our strings, okay? So you wanna kind of do it in an X. Okay, so just doing it in an X, you want them to have a middle point and then doing an X the other way. So you're just crossing over that point and make sure your strings are hanging out to the side, that there's lots of room. Try and get the middle of the string. I guess you could just like fold it and then put that in the middle if you want to be more accurate about it. All right, so we do want a nice middle point if we can get it, okay? All right, the next thing we do is we found these tights at the dollar store. So that's what we're doing, just the knee-high ones. All right, gonna go ahead and open that up. And there's 2 sets. So there'll be 4 of these in each package. And then we're just gonna cut off that elasticy. You see where it gets darker? You're just gonna cut off that darker spot. Oh, hey Mom, you never catch it. Good to see you. All right, you guys, so that's where we're at now, okay? All right, so now we got pretty much, let me check that we have everything prepped. All right, we have, oh, one more thing you want prepped is to have your water available to be able to mix your mortar. Okay, so you want to make sure you have that. So I just used a water bottle. It's one of the ones that unscrews and you can just squirt it in. I like that because then I could monitor a little bit better of how much water is being added so then I can get the proper texture, okay? And then we need gloves. So once more, just got some latex gloves right from the dollar store. And I found that when I was, sorry, I already got some mortar on me. that when I did the first few, they really came out, my hands came out really awful. And so I like washed them up real good, but they still were just like dry and awful. And so my husband insisted or suggested that I get gloves, and then insisted I get the latex ones. And he said because they stick a little bit better, so it'll make it easier to use my hands still while working with it, okay? All right. But not necessarily easier to get on. All right, so let me show you the bag of mortar that I got. And I have just a nice little dollar store. This was, there you go, an Easter basket from the dollar store, just a plastic one. And that's what I'm gonna use to mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and move my pumpkin. And then I get just a little bit more room and tuck this just a little bit to the side. I did have a little bit more room, so make sure you have room for your space as well as the mortar. I do when I turn the chair this way, but the way that it's turned is a little bit. All right, so this is the 60-pound bag of the mortar mix. And I like the mortar idea because it was a little bit more fine than the cement and everything, the other options that they had for it. So we went ahead with the mortar. And like I said, we're just gonna do that. Okay, so I had just a regular size kids cup here, not official measurements, but about 5 of these. So 1, 2. Oh, I forgot the other tip. Okay, so actually when you're doing it, I found that it's a little bit better if you put water in the bottom before you start. Obviously, I had forgotten that. So I'm just gonna put a little bit now, and that kind of helps it to not mist up so much, that you don't get as many vapors from the water being added to it. For some reason, it likes to be added to water better. All right. 3. And 4 and 5. All right. So I like to still keep the mortar a bit close just in case I end up adding too much water. And I actually forgot to get a spoon. So excuse me for one moment. I'm just going to grab a spoon so I can mix this better. And I am just using plastic spoons because, you know, getting the mortar all over things, I like the idea of just being able to throw it away when I'm done. So I did bring 2 because I have broken several spoons already. And luckily my husband had been handy to be able to help out. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing the bit of water, a little bit that I have in there. Once it starts getting too thick, which it already has, I'm just going to add in more. All right, that's quite a bit. Like I said, normally I try to do prep, but I didn't want the cement to start to harden, or the mortar to start to harden, so I'm just mixing it in. And I'll show you the texture that we're working with once I get closer to it. Just turn it a bit so you guys can kind of see. But yeah, I found that I broke less spoons when I put a bit of water in the bottom too, because then less of it was getting like solid at the bottom. All right, getting this going. Oh, this is actually looking like a pretty good texture. So fingers crossed. So then we can keep on going. All right, just need to mix a little bit more at the bottom there. All right, it's all looking wet. Make sure that you don't have any dry spots in there, okay? So this is actually looking really good. All right, so hopefully you guys can see a bit of this texture. It's not watery, it can kind of hold a shape. That's the texture I found was a good one, was it's not watery and it can hold a bit of shape, but it's not like super stiff and kind of, I guess, too solid. All right. So I'm gonna set that down there. Okay, so that's still available. And we're gonna go back and pull out our knee-high tights there. All right, and we're just gonna open that up. All right, there we go. All right, go right down to the bottom. And then you wanna kind of cup it with your hand so then you're able to fill it. So we're just making it an easy way to hold it. So just grab that bottom and cover it around so you get a nice little hole there that we're going to be starting to fill, okay? All right. And this will take a few moments to get this all filled. I found that you can push down a little bit and that helps fill it, you know, start pushing it out to give it more of its shape, to be able to fit more in there. But just remember, if you're working with a plastic spoon, don't push down too hard because of course it will break that way too. All right. All right, and then once that starts getting overfull in your hands, and you just let a little bit more of it down. Okay, and do it again. Or you can go ahead and start setting it on top of your spot where you're going to be working on it, or where you're going to be tying it up. So making sure I have everything in arm's reach that I'm supposed to have. All right. All right, and we're just filling. All right, and for those just joining, because there's a lot of people watching right now, this is what we're making today. We're making mortar pumpkins. So it turned out super cute. This is one that I made last night, so it's not all the way dry, so it'll be a little bit lighter than that when it's completely dried. And we're just filling our pumpkin now. And like I was saying, there's quite a bit of prep, you know, doing all that cutting and making sure you have stuff in reach, because once you start getting your hands into the mortar, you kind of don't want to have to go backwards. And so like I said before, it will drip a little bit, and you know, because you're using the latex gloves, it will keep some moisture on. So if you are doing more than one of these, it's really helpful to have an extra set of hands to go ahead and put new mortar in your thing. I was getting my husband to help me out just with that last night. That was the only thing that I was like, you know what, if I put my wet hand in the mortar, that's not going to be good. You don't want to get moisture into the whole bag when you're not working with the whole bag. All right. Our pumpkin is looking pretty good. All right. I'm just going to use most of this up. And if you find that you still have some room, just go ahead and like push it down a little bit, and that will give you just a little bit more area to be able to fill. And I'm kind of lopsided, so I'm gonna just adjust it a little bit. Make sure everything's sliding in the right way. All right, there we go. All right, I think we're good to go ahead and leave it there. So I'm just gonna set this aside. I have some cardboard on the floor to protect it. And I have my hair elastic, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull it a little bit tight up. And just gonna twist that around just like you do with your hair. It's okay to go ahead and try and not, you know how, here, stop for a moment. You know how you can do your hair where you put the elastic on and it like layers up and it keeps on like getting longer? It is better to try and like layer over top of it. Okay, so, oh, I let that get too loose. There we go. So, you know, so that just makes it a little bit more stumpy at the stump part of it. All right. Couple more turns. All right, I think one more ought to do it. All right, there we go. All right. All right, and because I moved things around a little bit, I'm just gonna double check underneath to make sure I still got these kind of lined up, and I don't. I moved them around a bit, so I'm just gonna reline them up so they all kind of have that same middle point. All right, then I'm gonna make sure, got that all good. All right, let it kind of sit. All right, and then we're gonna start tying. So you pull the ones exactly across from each other, so you're working with that same string. And I'm just gonna tie it. And you gotta be careful you don't tie it too tight, because what will happen is it will grip the nylon and then you'll actually get runs in it. So I had that happen with one of my other things where I did the string too tight. Luckily it didn't start pulling out and it was just a run instead of a hole. All right, so we're getting the double knot in there. Okay, just to make sure it's not gonna come undone. And then we're just gonna lay those strings back where they came from, okay? That will help us keep better track of our strings, because I have definitely lost track of strings and tied wrong ones together, and it's been pretty entertaining. So make sure you do that just so everything's where it's supposed to be. All right, we're going to tighten that one. All right, tighten. Can't tell you how many times I almost did a bow. And just as you're going, there's some liquid in the bottom. You can go ahead and rub that on the strings, because you do want the strings to be mortared too. Just make sure if they have color on them, then they have a bit of mortar and it's sufficient. All right, there we go. All right, make sure those strings go back down. And 3, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but it's supposed to be 4 strings. That's useful information. All right, I'm just gonna move that stem to the other side just so it's getting even where they all are, okay? And once more, they don't have to be perfect where they are, you know, they don't have to be perfectly even, that you have all the lines in the same place, because when they grow in nature, they are not perfectly symmetrical. Okay, I'm just gonna grab up some more of that mortar, cover up those lines, cover up the string. All right, and now this is our last tie. Just doing that double knot. And this one will be the hardest one, so if you do have somebody who has an extra finger to hold that for you, then that once more is super helpful, but once more not needful. Okay, all right, so that's where we're at now, okay? We got it all tied up. Okay, and then what I did was I collected all these strings. Okay, so all the leftover strings from the ties, collected those up. Make sure I got them all, make sure they're all mortared. There we go. All right, there's my collection of strings. And here, I'm just gonna set them together so then I can show you the 2 different ways. So when I cut off the strings, the problem that I had, so I did the double knots, and then I cut off the extra string. All right, so the problem that I had is one of them did untie, and so that was a challenge to try and get it where it was going to be secure again. So that's concerning, because then you'll lose all your strings, right? So we don't want to do that. The other thing is that I used just the tights instead for doing the stem, and let me give you a bit of a close-up, the difference. So, you know, it just kind of turned out into be a bit of a globby mess. Even though it does kind of have a stem-like feature, it wasn't quite my favorite. Sorry, I just touched that with a whole pile of mortar. I don't want to put it back on my table. All right, and then this one I liked quite a bit better. So it has the strings in there. It kind of gives it, like my husband said, it's a little bit more of a viney feel to it. So it's definitely, you know, just a little bit prettier in our opinion. All right, so that's why we're doing it with the strings. So we grab our extra strings, and that's why it's better to have extra string instead of less. And I did cut these a little bit smaller, so I'd even go 2.5 feet when you do your strings. All right, and so we're just gonna use it to kind of wrap the tights, the extra of the tights. We're just gonna wrap, and you can wrap as much as you want of it. You could go ahead and do a whole long one, but as you can see, I kind of kept mine a little bit shorter. I'm just using it to wrap the tights. All right, and I'm just gonna cut off the extra there. And your scissors are gonna get covered, so make sure you don't have your favorite scissors that you're working with. All right. Just gonna twist that just a little bit more so they're not going everywhere. There we go. All right, now as you can see, we got a nice pool of the cement, like I was, or the mortar that I was saying, and that's why I think it's a really good idea to take it and move it. I had like where the wax paper actually gave way on the bottom, and so you really want to make sure that you take it out of this lovely pool and put it on a different piece of wax paper. And like I suggested, go ahead and put it on some cardboard just so it's something that, you know, you can throw out, not a big deal. So that's it, that's our mortar pumpkin. And I think it's gonna look lovely. I would suggest, I I could tell that this one isn't fully ready, and I did this one up last night. So make sure you wait at least 24 hours. I'd even go for 2 or 3 days just to make sure that it's solid all on the inside before, you know, you set it outside. The other great suggestion I had is because, you know, it's a little more like cement mortar, I was worried about it scratching surfaces. So my plan is actually to get some felt and just cut it and use some like Gorilla Glue to put it on the bottom. And so I'd be able to put it on surfaces in my house, on my counter, on the tile, anywhere I want in my house without it causing problems. So yeah, so that's our lovely first fall live for the season. All right, you guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed this live. If you guys would like to see more of my videos, then you can go ahead and comment. You can add me as a friend. I have a group where I've been sharing the videos, as well as you can follow me. So there's lots of different ways to be able to see more videos. And I think that's everything. All right, you guys, I hope you guys are having a lovely Tuesday, and we will see y'all soon. All right, bye-bye, you guys.